Greetings fans, hyperfans and people just lost looking for videos of cats on YouTube. We are well and truly under siege with the last couple of Transformers lines. The third and fourth waves of Transformers, Siege, War for Cybertron are hitting toy shops in the UK at the moment, and that has meant that I've been buying a lot more toys at retail than I usually do. Now, I haven't reviewed stuff for a very long time because you have a lot of, especially American YouTubers, who are getting stuff way before we are, meaning that by the time that we get stuff out of the packet, it's old news. Especially when people are already talking about the New York Comic Con releases for Earthrise, and of course the Unicron that's just been funded. I will probably get back to that at the end of this video, but I have managed to pick up a few toys this week that I really do want to talk about. Specifically, not him. We're talking today about Siege, Springer and Impactor. Both of course huge fan favourites, especially if you are into the Nick Roche and James Roberts series Last Stand of the Wreckers and everything that followed on from that. Springer is actually the second version of this character we've seen in the past 5 years, with the Thrilling 30 version being kind of seen as one of the best Transformers toys out there. Impactor, on the other hand, I would say that it's the first Impactor toy that we've seen at retail, although there was that sort of dodgy War for Cybertron recolour, which was a bit bobbins really, so we'll just say the first original mould that Impactor has ever had. Let's actually talk about Impactor first and put Springer to one side, but before I start, full disclosure, this is not a stock figure. I actually did some modifications on this guy before I even finished transforming him really, because he kind of needed it out the packet. There is an exclusive triple pack version of this guy that gives him the more Centurion style helmet, but the retail version has a more classic blocky one based on the Marvel comics, and I just did not like that. I also happen to have a spare 3D printed head from a custom that I planned absolutely years ago, but with a little bit of work I managed to get it to fit. Somebody had also made some handy dandy leg fillers, and there was some hollowness there that really annoyed me from the beginning, so I had those printed off in about 20 minutes of getting the toy, but if and where that affects things, I will highlight them. Otherwise, let's just have a look at the figure. So, he has a really vibrant colour scheme. The purple is really lurid, the yellow is or the orange I'll say is far more dull. He has yellow on the orange paint job, and of course he has that sort of ubiquitous battle damage just on the tank tread guards really, so that's not too bad. He has all the articulation that you would expect. The head is on a ball joint, but the original head is far closer down the neck, so you would get a turn, tiny bit of left and right. This guy fits on very well and has a far more expressive range of motion. The arms are on a double hinge, so you have a rotation and a very high shoulder joint. There is a bicep swivel, a 90-degree bend at the elbow, and no turn on the hand, although because of transformation there's a little bit of left and right movement, which I'll show you with this side means you can bring out either a proper fist like Impactor originally had, or give him his Last Stand of the Wreckers look with this gun slash harpoon slash pokey thing. He has ab crunch for transformation. He does have a waist, it's sort of quite high up on that one. Getting this to pop in and unpop is quite difficult. There. The shoulder cannon does come off pretty easily, and I Do we call that articulation, or do we just call that sloppy transformation? We just leave that there. The legs are on a double joint universal hinge, so it actually turns, and then there's a pin through for outward movement. He does have a thigh swivel, and then again, because of transformation, he has got a little bit of movement at the ankles, so you can give him a nice wide stance. A lot of sculpted in detail. The back is relatively kibble free. This is hollow, but again, there's a 3D filler in there. So on the whole, pretty good as a figure. Transformation on him, it's not the most complicated in the world. It uses a few tricks that they have been using with some of the Megatron toys recently. But it's got some clever bits too. The tank mode has a fully rotating turret, which is actually that joint there. So top half becomes the turret, bottom half becomes the tank, so this is squishing this half up and stretching this half out. Tank mode is pretty decent, and it does remind me of his last Stand of the Wreckers appearance. The colour is a little more blocky, with all the purple now being limited to the top and everything below the turret being that yellow with a little bit of silver accent. He has got the claws at the front. The turret does turn a good 360 degrees, even though it reveals a bit of hollowness underneath. The turret is his handgun held between the arms, but it will elevate all the way up. The shoulder cannon has flipped over to cover up the head. The head not sitting completely flush is due to the modification, and the stock head fits a lot flatter. If you still have your Titan Masters or Power Masters sitting around from the last couple of years Transformers, you can actually flip that out and just about make a decent seat to have one of those piloting it. For a deluxe, this is a pretty good figure. We have had a lot of complaints recently that toys are getting smaller. The Impactor is actually a very good sized figure. If I bring in that stalwart of size comparisons, the classic Seeker mold, Impactor sits a good head or so taller, which kind of suits a character that is supposed to be a very beefy drawler of a character. The only time that sizing may seem even slightly less than impressive is if you are putting him next to your Thrilling 30 Springer. Now again, Thrilling 30 Springer is a toy that a lot of people have a lot of time for and may be looking to recreate that IDW lineup. Now I actually got rid of my IDW Springer before I got the Siege one, but I do still have his mold mate Sandstorm, or at least a cheap knockoff of him. Now at this stage, they're not really characters that you can imagine fighting back to back. And here you may start to consider maybe Hasbro are downsizing their figures. I mean, this is supposed to be a Voyager class, as indeed is this Springer. Now, personally, I'm happy to have a new version of Springer because I don't like having the same mold multiple times in my collection, with a few obvious exceptions. So apart from his comparative diminutive stature, what's the new Springer like? Well, to begin with, he is a lot more chunky and a lot more G1 styled than the Thrilling 30 version. This review is not going to be a constant comparison to the 5-year-old version of this. Instead, let's just concentrate on him as a toy in his own right. He is a very chunky figure. He holds together very well when you have everything tabbed in, but there is a lot to tab in. He has a little bit of a backpack. Doesn't really matter so much with the character, and the way that it's molded, it does actually look like it's a backpack. I would probably have preferred them to have some better weapon storage in the robot mode, because at the moment he needs to kind of hold everything. His swords are not something that you can get rid of, put into boxes and forget about, because they're intrinsic parts of his transformation. The blasters he comes with are pretty generic sci-fi blasters. They do have the added bonus of being able to plug together for a long rifle, although I kind of feel like that's more a Rodimus thing than a Springer thing. Please feel free to correct me in the comments if I am wrong. He has one bit of weapons kibble, which is the crossbeam for his helicopter mode, and there's nothing that really makes that worth storing, so it ends up just jutting out of the backpack. But accessories, there are plenty. The articulation on him is pretty good. The head is on a ball joint, but much like the original head for Impactor, a little bit of up and down, turning is fine, side to side massively hampered by the very short neck. The shoulders are on a single rotation, giving you about 180, just over 180 degrees, pinned quite high on the shoulder, bicep swivel, very stiff shoulder, nothing at the hands. He has a waist swivel, he has a universal joint at the hips. His knees do have a very deep bend, but they are also prone to popping out from the transformation joints. The feet have some good outward ankle and a lot of tilt, all because of the transformation. The transformation, yeah. The transformation is really complicated, and the last step of plugging the arms into the side is kind of a case of lining everything up with the tabs, crossing your fingers and squeezing and hoping for the best. But wait, there's more. So there's not a lot of complaints you can really make about either vehicle. They're very close to their G1 counterpart, and they're never going to have to live up to the exact measurement of, well, it doesn't look like the real vehicle. But actually, when we get to this form is where, it's not even where I start to have issues, but it's where all my issues can be seen. To start with, let's have a look at the signature Siege battle damage. It's everywhere on this. It's over this dark green piece, which becomes the backpack. It's over this piece, which becomes the chest plate, the shoulders, the shin guards. It's all dry brushed to hell with so much silver. It's kind of obnoxious. Vehicle mode, it rolls fine. It's a very cool looking sci-fi car like that, but what's this? Okay, I mean, you've got two guns, two swords, a piece of kibble, and that is what they do with it. They actually know, according to the instructions, that is what you do with it. But it's just so out of place. And again, you can't just take these things off, put them in the box off to one side, because you need these again when you're doing a helicopter mode. There are some little tabs on the side which let you put the swords there. You can take the guns off and use any port that you want. But you're still left with this. You know, if there was something there to hold it, that would be fine. But these are so loose, everything just... It just seems like they have gone so far into making this a really good toy and then just given up at the final mile. Which is annoying considering how good the weapon storage, especially for the sword, was on the Thrilling 30s one. In fact, I'm going to say this now. If anybody has decided that they want to keep the Thrilling 30 Stringer, but they would like to have him dual wielding, drop me a message. I will swap swords with you right now. But I don't want to be totally negative on this. There will be people who grew up with Stringer, who missed their childhood toy, and this is going to hit an awful lot of buttons for them, especially since the weapon storage on that was a bit rubbish too. But I can see that at a lot of points in this toy line, they have gone back to the original comics, to the original source material, and brought it up for a new generation, and I do love that. I mean, I did grow up with G1, but I am not so absolutely tied to it that any time they give Optimus a slightly different mode or turn Megatron into something that isn't a Walther PP9, that I have a heart attack and threaten to burn something down. I just think that if you're going to do something classic, do something new with it, and if you're going to do something new, make it worthwhile. There's one more size comparison that I do want to do with these though. Having two of the most important wreckers come out within a couple of waves of each other, there's always going to be one toy that you want to see how they size with. Thing with scale's a difficult thing for Transformers collectors, especially when you have things like comparing this tank to this armoured sports car. But in robot mode, there are certain characters that you want to really loom over others. Having a slightly smaller Stringer and a very chunky sized Impactor, they both scale with Titan's Return Overlord in a fantastic manner. So if you're putting together an IDW collection, you kind of may want to think about whether scale or style is going to lead which Stringer you go for. Stringer is currently hitting shops at around £23, and you can pick up the Thrilling 31 second hand for about £25, so there's not a lot in it. Impactor is anywhere between £15 and £20 depending on where you're shopping, and considering that the only other real option you've got for having Impactor on your shelves is the third-party MMC Spartan, your wallet may limit your choices. This has been a 2-for-1 toy review on Stringer and Impactor. I hope you've enjoyed the review. If you are not subscribed, consider doing so to get more quality content on Transformers, toys in general, modifications, Nerf guns, vlogs and everything else that I'm going to be doing over the next few months, including, considering that Transformers fans have shown the world that they like big robots, with 8,000 of you having signed up for the Unicron Kickstarter, I'm going to be doing a few videos looking again at some of the biggest Transformers that I have in my collection. Make sure you've got notifications turned on, comment below if there's something you'd like to see in the future, and until next time, if you're keeping the mint in package, you're not a toy collector, you're a box collector.